G'day. So in this video, we're going to be looking at solving trigonometric equations, alright, and some more advanced questions. So hopefully you notice with this one, we have the period won't be 2 pi. It's got to be altered, and this is what makes them a little bit harder with a few more steps, okay? So we'll go through how to solve these. So first, we'll start off with our first one. Sine of 2 pi is equal to negative a half. So that was a bad A. But anyway, so we'll start off with this one. So first we need to identify which quadrants negative a half can be in. So we look at sine. When it's going to be negative, it has to be either in quadrant 3 or quadrant 4. Okay? So this gives us an indication. Now, when it's a half, we look at sine and a half, our table of exact values. This is when it's pi on 6. So that means it's going to be pi on 6 away from the horizontal. So that's our reference angle. Okay, now we've got that bit of information, we can now apply our domain. So in the question you can see it's looking for theta when it's over 0 and 2 pi. So our domain, that's all the x values. For theta, we're looking from, theta is an element, from 0 to 2 pi. But in our question here, we've got 2 theta. So that means 2 theta is going to be an element, and we just need to double it because it's 2, from 0 to 4 pi. So that's the domain that we're going to be looking at. So for our first one, when we're 0 to 2 pi, we normally have 2 solutions, but because we're going around this circle twice, so we're going around once and then twice, we're going to have 4 solutions. So just be aware of that. So we're going to have 4 solutions. Now, what's left is to work out all the angles for 2 theta that it could work for. So we've drawn this out on our cast little diagram down the bottom here. So here we could have our angles as, firstly, our first one will be pi plus pi on 6, and that represents our quadrant 3 one. Then our quadrant 4 one, this is going to be 2 pi minus pi on 6. Just remember that pi is here, 2 pi is there. Alright, so that's our first rotation. Then we need to go around again. So we've gone 2 pi and we've gone another pi, so that's going to be 3 pi plus pi on 6. And then our next one, we've gone around twice and we need a minus pi on 6, so it's going to be 4 pi minus pi on 6. So after doing this, we just need to simplify these down. So go do this. Remember pi plus pi on 6, that's like saying 6 pi on 6 plus pi on 6, so that's going to be 7 pi on 6. And then our next one's going to be 11 pi on 6. Ooh. Then we have 19 pi on 6. And finally, we have 23 pi on 6. So all that's left to do now is actually just find what theta is equal to. And it's just like any other equation, we need to divide it all by 2 because it's 2 theta. So now we just divide it all by 2, so essentially all we need to do is double our denominator. So this becomes 7 pi on 12, 11 pi on 12, and so forth. (19 pi on 12, and finally 23 pi on 12. So that there is our final answer. Okay? So this is how you go about breaking these down. So I'll do the second one with sine 3 theta. It's the exact same sort of method except for we're using 3 theta. So I'll do this one in green. just so you can tell the difference easily. So, this one here, we have sine of 3 theta is equal to negative 1 on root 2. So we need to look at where sine is negative. That's quadrants 3 and 4 again. And then we need to look when it's 1 on root 2, which is here, which is 45 degrees, which is pi on 4. So that means these angles here are going to be pi on 4, pi on 4. Okay, so it's the same premise of what we did before. We need to look at our domain. Our domain for theta is when it's over 0 and 2 pi. So therefore, when we're looking at our domain of 3 theta, this is going to be over 0 and 6 pi. Okay? So you can just see the difference there. We've multiplied by 3 instead of 2 from our previous example. Because we're going around essentially the circle 3 times, you can imagine that, we're going to have 6 solutions for this one. So we're going to have 6 solutions for this example here. So now it's just about breaking down all of these values that it can be. So 3 theta, this is going to equal. So we go around our circle once. So start here, go around our circle. We've got our first value there, which is pi plus pi on 4. And our second value here, which is 2 pi minus pi on 4. Then we continue going around and around. So I'll write out all of these. We've got pi plus pi on 4. Then we'll have 2 pi minus pi on 4. Then we'll have 3 pi plus pi on 4. We'll have 4 pi minus pi on 4. Hopefully I don't run out of room here. We'll have 5 pi plus pi on 4. Finally, we'll have 6 pi minus pi on 4. Okay. So now we just need to simplify all these down. So yet again, it can just take a little bit of time, but just make sure you take the time. A lot of easy mistakes can be made of just not adding up these right. So that's like 4 pi on 4 plus pi on 4, which makes it 5 pi on 4. Okay, 2 pi, so that's like 8 pi on 4. So just remember that. Okay, just like any fractions, you need to have the common denominators to add together. Alright, so 3 pi on 4, this gives us 13 pi on 4. Next we have 15 pi. And you will see a bit of a pattern here when you are doing it, so that makes it a little bit easier to check that all your numbers are correct. And lastly, 23 pi on 4. Okay. Now, all that's left to do is to get theta by itself, and we do that by dividing by 3. So that means we can multiply the denominator by 3, and that will be our answer. So we'll have 5 pi on 12. Write your 5's a bit clearer than me. 7 pi on 12, 13 pi on 12, 15 pi. Ooh, drew an extra leg there. (21 pi on 12) and lastly 3 pi on 12. So this is how you go about solving them by hand. Yet again, you can do this on CAS pretty simply, so just be aware of that, but you do need to understand how to solve these by hand. So just remember with this, first find which quadrants you're working in, so work out which quadrants you're working in, and then the reference angle. And the reference angle comes from your solution here and using your table of exact values. Okay? Then you need to work with your domains. So identify what your original domain is, and then apply whatever's happening to theta in here to your domain, okay, to your values in your domain. Then you just need to work out all of the answers that fall within that domain, like so, and then get theta by itself. So these are the steps of working it out, and it just has a couple more steps of what we did previously. So hopefully this helps with solving these, and good luck.